today we have the appraisal class. Tomorrow we have, we're going to talk about creating clients for life, like post-closing, how to follow up with our clients, how to get them on a contact, how many times we should be contacting them, kind of what to do, what's recommended. And then that will lead right into Thursday. We'll talk about your database gold mine again, because we can't reiterate that enough about how we should be digging into our database. And it is the holiday season, which is the perfect time to do that. So that's kind of this week. We have another exciting week next week. And then stay tuned, because we're rolling out our special 12 days series towards the end of December and into the beginning of January. So stay tuned to that. But today we have ACE the appraisal. So my common practice when I am a listing agent, there are 2 times that I do this packet. Number one, anytime I am a listing agent, I want to put together an appraisal packet for the appraiser. The reason that we do that is we want to guarantee that we're going to get that appraised value that we need out of that property. Okay. Secondly, the other time that I do this is if I have a buyer that has submitted an offer that has an appraisal gap in it, meaning that if that appraisal comes in low, they're going to have to come in with more cash to close escrow. Or if I know that this transaction is dependent on that appraisal coming in at value, if I'm representing the buyer and I know that that seller is not going to wiggle on a low appraisal, they don't have any room to make that work, to reduce the price any further, then even as the buyer's agent, I will submit this ACE the appraisal type packet. So what does this packet contain? It contains a detailed review of the property, which I'll show you here in a minute. It contains a detailed review of the comps in relation to the property that I've handpicked. So the point of this appraisal packet that I submit is that I've handpicked the comps for the property so that we can get the results that we want with that appraisal. And then the other thing that I include is copies of the purchase agreement and all counter offers with that property. And the reason that I do that is that sometimes, it's happened to me once or twice, the appraiser has not gotten copies of the counter offers, or they've had the final price of the contract wrong. And that's important because oftentimes our appraisers are appraising that property based on a sales price, right? They know that, hey, that property is in contract at $600,000, and that's what they're aiming for. Now, let's say that they run the comps and they're like, man, that could be like a $650,000 property. Like, oftentimes they're not going to mark it up that high. They're going to keep it pretty close to that contract price, which is why it's so important for them to have a copy of what that contract price is. The reason they do that is they just don't want red flags. If they appraise it way above contract price, then the lender starts asking the appraiser all sorts of questions and jumping to conclusions, things like, oh, this must be an arm's length transaction, or not a non-arm's length transaction, meaning the buyer and seller knew each other, like there's something shady going on here. Why are they in contract so much lower than market value? And they start asking the appraiser questions and to clarify and to submit more information. And appraisers don't like to do additional work. Nobody likes to do additional work, and nobody likes questions from a lender. So that's why I always include copies of the contract as well. So I usually take a white envelope. I put all this information inside the white envelope. I print up the appraisal info, which I'll show you here in a second, which is what I draw up. I'll print up the appraiser's 1 page of the comps that I've hand selected, as well as the appraiser's 1 page for the subject property, and then copies of the contract. I put that all inside an envelope, and then I put, you know, like 123 Sample Street appraiser on the front of the envelope. I usually seal it. I don't like the appraisers to actually look at it in front of me because they're very mean when they look at it in front of you, but it seems to always work. And so I hand that to them at time of appraisal. As a listing agent, it is really important to be there or to have your sellers there at time of appraisal, because the appraiser is going to ask questions during the appraisal about updates done to the property. Oh, how long ago was the kitchen updated? Or was this done? Or is the solar owned? Or, right? They're going to ask questions. We want to make sure that we can answer those questions for them so that they have the most accurate information available. So I usually try to make sure somebody is at the property usually myself, but if I can't get there, I usually try to make sure a seller's there. The goal is not to follow the appraiser around. Appraisers are often introverts who don't like people. So don't follow the appraiser around the property. Just be there, be available, sit at the kitchen table, sit on the couch, sit outside on the steps. It really doesn't matter. Just be available in case they have questions. Usually the appraisals are pretty quick. Sometimes they're in and out in like 15 minutes. Other times it's like 30 minutes. I've rarely ever had one be there longer than 30 minutes. So it's usually a pretty quick time frame. And again, that appraised value coming in is so super important to your sellers. And that's why I recommend making sure that you're at every appraisal and that you hand them a copy of this packet. All right. So I've pulled up 4 examples of this packet. And let me share a copy with you. Hold on just a second. And anyone with a link. It's a viewer. All right. I'm going to copy the link. And I'm going to throw this into the chat box. Is a link to this page. So here's what I put together for each and every property. So at the top of the page, I have the property address and the purchase price. Okay, that way it's right on that front page for them to look at and review to make sure that what they have matches what I have. And then underneath that information is I put whether we had multiple offers or what the situation is on the property, unless it's been sitting on the market for 3 months and we finally got one offer, right? But if there was multiple offers, or like this one, the house was previously in contract with an offer contingent on the sale of the buyer's property, current buyer submitted backup offer and sellers were able to move forward with backup, resulting in current transaction, right? I'm building my case for this property was desirable. Okay, I've got this one here that says, right, multiple offers received first weekend on market, right? So I'm just building my case for the desirability and justifying that purchase price of the property. Here, this one was multiple, 5 offers received, all at or above asking. And my final example here is multiple offers received over asking, put in parentheses 6, right? If there was only 2 offers, I would still say multiple offers over asking, or multiple offers at asking, or multiple offers at contract price, right? Whatever I can do to justify that. But if there's only 2, I may not put how many offers were received, where if I received 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm going to put how many. We received 6 offers, all in around the same price, put it into contract the first week on market. Buyers failed to perform. We put it right back into contract with another buyer from the original 6 without putting it back on the market, right? So I'm just building that case. So whatever you can do to build your case for that purchase price from the very get-go is helpful. Okay. And as always, if anybody has questions, feel free to just like throw them in the chat box or unmute yourself and interrupt me. Okay. So top purchase price, and then was there multiple offers or not? If there's not, I'm just going to take that section out. The section is the features of the property. Okay. What makes this property desirable to a buyer? And I understand that not all these things are going to add value as far as an appraiser is concerned. And I don't really care about that. My goal is what makes this property desirable. I want to have the longest list of features that I can create. So on this one, it says there's, hey, 3 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms, what the square footage was. I usually always include the square footage, bedroom, bathroom count. In addition, it had an open concept great room, a 2-car garage, a finished garage. Garage door opener was installed in 2021, right? So that was an upgrade to the property, and appraisers like to know when those upgrades were done. Paid for solar installed in 2016, exterior painted in 2018, a large lot at 8,712 square feet, playground area, fire pit area, large side yard, large covered patio, right? Covered patios definitely add value. Front and backyards fully landscaped, right? So if my yards are landscaped, I definitely note that. RV parking with decomposed granite, pool replastered 5 to 10 years ago, sunning deck in pool. There was a spa, security fence around the pool, cement pool deck was done 5 to 10 years ago, roof replaced 5 to 10 years ago, HVAC replaced 5 to 10 years ago, kitchen remodeled 5 to 10 years ago, all stainless steel appliances with in-wall oven and upgraded cooktop. recessed lighting, pantry added in 2022, flooring replaced with luxury vinyl in 2022, fully updated hall bathroom 5 to 10 years ago, master bathroom remodeled 5 to 10 years ago, large soaking tub, and security screens. So see how I just mentioned like all the benefits of that property, right? All the features. If we went over to the Stonegate house, on this one, before my buyers bought it that sold it, the previous sellers actually had the dollar amounts associated with the different upgrades. And so if you have those dollar amounts, it's helpful to include those as well, right? So less than 4 years ago, I broke these upgrades down. And then I did features because this house had so many upgrades and because we had the completed list. So I did page 1 was just upgraded. So, hey, what was done in the last 4 years? That's how the amount of time that my sellers had owned it. Main floor renovated to make it open concept, recessed lighting installed, home painted neutral colors throughout. The upgrades that were done 5 years ago, right? Because I knew what the date was on those. And I put the dollar amount for the ones that we had, right? So hickory hand scraped hardwood floors, 30,000, pool upgrades, 25,000, converted pool to saltwater, new pool filter installed, heat pump installed to heat pool, new variable speed heat pump, child safe pool cover, right? Installed automatic muriatic acid feed system, right? So all the things that were done, they added backyard lighting, new HVAC with infrared ozone light, upgraded bonus room lighting, installed built-in bookshelves, new concrete near pool stairs, and then the things that were done 7 years ago, which was the kitchen upgrade, the master bathroom, guest bathroom, dual pane windows, and tough shed, right? And then I went through and listed all the features of the property. So see how I had a different upgrade list. So anything I can include that's going to help justify this, I'm going to put it in there. And this property, we were in contract at 800,000. That was the highest price per square footage in that neighborhood. So it really took me a lot of work to try to justify that sales price. Okay. Again, always do bedroom, bathroom count, square footage, garage count. This one had RV parking, the large lot size. I'm going to note that it was in a court location because location's important. Let's see here, hardwood floors. So I just went through and noted anything, separate living room and family room, indoor laundry room, updated bathrooms, soaking tub, neutral colors, tile roof, upgraded lighting, cathedral ceiling. So all of those bonus features, I'm going to note in that features section. Okay, so that's what kind of comes next. So after we do the summary, then we can do upgrades and features. For Walnut, here we did that again, right? Same thing. Starts with bedroom, bathroom count. Talked about the garage. This one had an oversized detached 2-car garage, so I noted that. Large lot size, bonus flex room, new carpet, corner lot, alley access on side of house, desirable covered front porch, large back deck, large bedrooms, extra large closets, vaulted ceilings, landscaped front and backyards with crops, produce, herbs, the attached list, chicken coop and chicken run, wood burning fireplace. So all those features that I can find, I throw in there, right? So same thing, I did it again on this Heritage Lane property, right? Just all the things, extra room pre-plumbed for half bath, finished garage with epoxy floors, tile roof, paid for solar, tankless water heater, water filtration system, landscaped, drought tolerant landscaping, right? So all those things that would be benefits to our buyer. Court location, upgraded cabinets, all those things. Okay, any questions about those top couple sections? Okay, it takes me a little while to put this packet together. The next section that I do is a summary about the property. Okay, the subject property is a single-story ranch-style home that was renovated to have a large open concept great room. There was also a large pantry added, giving additional storage to the kitchen and house in general. The home sits at the end of a court and has an oversized lot, bigger than most lots in the neighborhood, and it has a beautiful in-ground pool and spa. Let's see. In addition, the home has RV parking with no rear neighbors. Comparable properties with pools or just homes similar size lots are difficult to find in the current market. I have included comps for the property based on location and lot size and homes with pools. The property is unique with its large lot, port location, and pool, right? So if I'm going to say, hey, this property is going to be difficult to comp out if you only look at the nearby neighborhood, right? I'm justifying I went outside the neighborhood to pull comps. So, hey, the property is unique. It's got a large lot, port location, and a pool, right? So it's hard to find comps for that. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns regarding the appraisal or the home. Have a great day, right? And then I'm going to do my list of comparables. So if we look at the Stonegate appraisal, here on this summary, the subject property is a two-story home located in the highly desired Stonegate neighborhood. The home consists of 4 good-sized bedrooms, a great room, and a bonus family room or den. The almost quarter-acre lot is fully landscaped with a heated pool and child-safe cover. The size of the lot allows for room in the backyard for not just the pool, but also a large grassy area and the garden, as well as RV parking on the side of the home. The home has over $100,000 worth of upgrades and is in a highly coveted court directly across from the large Stonegate Park. All these factors came into play when the buyers were providing feedback about the property after showing and during the open house, as well as when offers were received. In addition, we have seen a large uptick in buyers in the market for homes since the holiday season is over, creating increased competition with a lack of inventory for the buyers searching for homes. I've included comps from the surrounding area that are similar in lot size and all have pools, as well as one from Browns Valley area to demonstrate the desirability increasing with the proximity to large parks, right? Stonegate's over here. Browns Valley is way over there. I'm still going to use that comp because I'm trying to justify my sales price. So I'm trying to show the value for a property that's next to a park, right? So if I'm going to go outside the norm, I explain why. Okay, so that summary is I'm just trying to like embellish the property and make it seem amazing and wonderful. I'm taking kind of the features, summarizing that, and then justifying if I'm going to go outside of the normal realm for comps. Okay, if we look at the Walnut one, the subject property is a unique turn-of-the-century Victorian single-story home located on a large landscaped corner lot just 2 blocks from downtown Dixon and only a block from the Dixon Mayfair. It has been transitioned into an urban homestead dream with planting beds, fruit trees, herb gardens, berry bushes, cover crops, and space designed for both a chicken coop and a duck coop. The home also features an oversized 2-car detached garage with driveway parking for 3+ cars and alley access on the side. The rooms are spacious with larger than normal closets, and there's a bonus flex room located at the front of the house currently being used as a craft room. We received rave reviews from all who viewed the property, as indicated with the multiple offers received for the initial offer review deadline. The home is difficult to produce comps for since there haven't been many homes from the time period that have sold, and those that have are significantly smaller. I've included comps that feel most accurately reflect the property. In the past 6 months, there have only been 3 home sales in Dixon where the home was built before 1920, and the style, desirability, and charm of homes built after 1920 were not created equal. Of the homes that have sold from the same time period, one was just over 1,000 square feet larger, one almost 1,000 square feet smaller, and one that was close to size of the subject property, which also happens to be located in the same neighborhood. Not taking age into consideration, you have to venture out a little further from the subject property to find property similar in size and not new homes. I've included comparables which I feel are the best match in age and size, right? So we're just justifying this. I'm building my case for what the comps were that I chose. Okay. Any questions about that third section, the summary? Okay. The last section that I do after the summary, I usually say, hey, if you have any questions or concerns regarding the appraisal or the home, please reach out. I make sure I have my name on there and then my contact information for the appraiser. Okay. And then after we do that, we move on to the comparables section. So this is where I'm going to pick the comparables that I think the appraiser should utilize. In addition to that, if there is an appraisal, a property that has sold nearby the property that I don't think the appraiser should use, I'm going to pull that one into this appraisal as well as a comp, because I want them to know why they shouldn't use that property. So if we look at, we're going to go back to the original one that I was looking at. The comparables, I pulled 160 Alonzo. I always put the property address for the comp. I put the date it sold for, or if it's pending or under contract, I will put that as well. I usually try to include at least 3 sold properties, and then what the sales price was. Then I'm going to compare it to the subject property, right? So this property is a little further away, but is the property closest in size, lot size, with a pool and in a court location, making it a solid example of a comparable to the subject property. This home was also similar in upgrades to the bathrooms, although does not have the luxury vinyl floors throughout or as nice of updates to the kitchen and great room, nor does it have solar, right? So I'm just comparing, hey, what does this one have? What does mine have? What are we lacking? Where are we winning? This one was the same sales price as the one that we was in contract for. And I've already justified that this one's inferior as far as it doesn't have the same amount of updates, which helps build my case for the price. The next one was one on Arlington Way. It was listed, sold quite lower than the subject property. So this home is located in the same neighborhood as the subject property. This home is similar in size. The lot is much smaller than the subject property, as well as this home has rear neighbors. This home also has far inferior upgrades. The subject property was lacking the open concept great room, and the backyard was not landscaped and maintained as well as the subject property. This home also does not have a pool nor a covered patio, right? So I'm saying, hey, here's your deductions where I'm going to gain value over this 530,000. So I don't stray away from a low one if I can justify how to bump it up to our sales price. Saybrook, this is another single-story home located very near the subject property that is slightly larger. The home had solar, however, it was leased, not owned. It also did not have the same updates or upgrades in the home, nor did it have a pool. It does have similarly landscaped yards, right? And that one sold for $590, right? Does everybody understand what I'm doing? I'm just justifying my value based on the properties that are for sale. Okay, let's see here if there's one. Let's go back to that Stonegate one and look at those comps. We had Boone. This home is the closest sale to the subject property, as well as it is also closed this month, which makes it a good indicator of the current market, and it's closely matched on both sides of the home and lot size. This home is slightly larger than the subject property. However, the subject property has a slightly larger lot. Both homes feature 2-car garages and RV parkings, as well as a pool and all-weather patio covers. The subject property has far superior updates and upgrades, as this home has the original kitchen with all tile counters, original cabinets, as well as original bathrooms and carpets in the bedrooms. This home does have solar, whereas the subject does not. And this home isn't located near a park or in a court location, which most buyers find more desirable, right? So I'm just building that case. So that I had a sold property and then I had a pending one. Let's see, I went down and stole one from Rio Grande, which is a different neighborhood than the subject property. This home is larger than the subject property and has smaller lot size. Normally, I wouldn't look at a comp that's much larger than the subject property. However, the neighborhood is very similar in desirability, and both homes are very similar in updates and upgrades, and both homes have pools. This home has solar, although leased, not owned, whereas the subject property has a superior all-weather patio cover. In addition, the subject property is located in a much more desirable position, with it being in a court and just across the street from a park, right? So I'm just justifying, hey, you're going to take stuff away from this 885, but here's where we're going to gain. And then I have that property from Browns Valley. This home is a little further away from the subject property. However, the neighborhoods are comparable and homes are similar in house and lot size. And this house is located very close to a park similar to the subject property. Both homes have very similar interior updates on the main level, although the upstairs is carpeted and the master bedroom isn't as updated. Both homes have nicely landscaped yards. Both have pools as well as patio covers. This home does not have the same open concept design of the subject property. This home does have a solar and a spa and pool house, right? So I'm justifying like, hey, we're going to gain some, we're going to lose some, right? So I'm just justifying that. So I include those comps. So do you see how I just compare those comps as we go through the list of the ones that I would like the appraiser to use? Any questions about that process? All right. Then what I do next then is I go into berries. So if you go into berries, hold on. I think it's going to make me log back in. All right. This is where I use carts. Just so y'all know, this is one of those reasons that I use carts. So if we go into carts, so when I go into pull comps on a property, when I originally have my listing, I do it as a saved search, and then that makes it really easy for me to go in and pull comps for that property. So usually like this one's 123 Del Mar comps, 1790 Beach comps, Elizabeth Road comps, right? Arcadia comps. So I pull those Finchley comps, Heritage Lane comps. Oh, look, there we go. Right. So it makes it really easy for me just to pull up those properties. Okay. And then what I can do here is I check the box to include the ones that I want to include as far as the properties go. And then I come up to reports. And then I look for that appraiser's one page is the report that I pull to include for the appraiser. Since I'm sending that packet to the appraiser, so I pull the appraiser's one page report, hit run report, and then I print those usually in color. Okay, that keeps it to one page and makes it nice. So I'm going to include this Heritage Lane information, right, which was 2 pages with all the features, the summary, the comparables. And then I'm also going to include these one-page reports for all the properties that I included as comparable properties so that it makes it really easy for the appraiser to do their job. Okay, and then again, in addition to that, I'm also going to include copies of that residential purchase agreement and any counter offers included with that offer so that the appraiser has copies of all those so they can compare and make sure they have the right sales price for that property, as well as they can see if there's any concessions or anything involved. So that's kind of my process for that. Any questions about this packet? No, everybody's good. All right. Hopefully everybody found this really helpful. That's all I've got for you today, unless you want me to show you how I pull comps for a property, and then I'm happy to show you how I do comps in a property in berries. Mark or Deborah, would you guys like to see me do that?
I'm still running the appraiser's report on my berries.
Okay.
It's a little
All right.
slow for some reason.
Well, that happens. But let me show you how I go about pulling comps for a property. So let's just go into, I'm going to go back to my home dashboard and I'm going to pick an address. Let's see here. All right, let's look at 412 Wood Haven just for kicks. I'm just pulling an address. All right, so what I do when I go to pull comps is I go into searches and I do the interactive map search. And I do this whether it's a property we're already in contract for, whether I'm pulling comps for the sale of a property, or whether it's for a buyer looking to make sure that they're making a good offer on a property. So I always go into the searches interactive map search. Here at the top toolbar, it allows me to plug in an address. So I'm going to plug in 412 Wood Haven as a property that is for sale. That's going to bring me to the neighborhood and it's going to put a little marker over that property. I'm going to hit the little X instead of remove marker, which leaves the marker there, but takes that box off so that I can still see what's going on. This is highly effective, just so you guys know, even if you're unfamiliar with the area, if you zoom out for most cities, you can kind of see the areas and where the natural divisions are, which is usually the natural division usually leads to a change in houses. So next, what I do is I come over here to the drawing button and hit draw. And then I hit the little triangle with the little dots on each corner. which allows me then to come over here and click on the map. So I can see here, there's a natural division. Even if I didn't know this area, there's a natural division there on the Puda South Canal Creek. And then here, same thing here with the Alamo Creek. There's a natural division. Then I'm going to come up this Nut Tree Road and across Alamo. Okay, because I know that this neighborhood, number one, I can see major streets and landmarks, right? Creeks, rivers, canals, streets are usually, main streets are usually divisions of neighborhoods. So the properties that are on this side of Nut Tree are probably going to be different than the properties on the other side of Nut Tree, although these two neighborhoods are fairly similar. Or if we take this one and go this way, then we've got those Dream Street properties, and then into newer homes up into the that Peabody area, that Foxborough area. Or, you know, if we cross over the canal into Tulare, then we've got those properties that are in the flood zone, right? So those are all going to be a little bit different. So I usually try to start in the neighborhood. Then I come over here to the search criteria. If it's pulling both regular properties and like single family residences and condo, I can come into the sub property type and just click single family residence. Or if I'm searching for condos, you could just hit condos in there, which helps to eliminate some of the other things. So that's under subtype. For statuses, I want, I don't necessarily care about coming soon when I'm actually trying to do this for an appraisal report. I might care about coming soon for a new listing. But I'm looking at active, contingent, pending, and closed sales. Okay. And when I look at closed sales, I often want to go back 3 months is kind of where I start with. So we're at the end of November now. So I want all of November, all of October, and all of September. So I'm probably just going to come, and I don't make it, it's not an exact science. I just hit the first of the month, right? It's a little less than 3 months. But I'm going to start there to see if I've got enough closed sales. And it looks like I've only got probably like 2 marks. So I may go back a month and include another month to hopefully get a few more closed sales. Okay. If the property had a pool, I might come down here and be like, hey, I only wrote properties with a pool. I don't even know because I haven't actually looked at this property. So pool, yes or no. If I hit yes, oh, you see the subject property does have a pool. Or I could hit no and include all comps. Okay. I try not to limit it too much. Sometimes if I get a lot of sales in here, then I'll come back and look at like the living area or the, that's the square footage of the house or the lot size. Living area, ultimately, most desired comps are going to be like a couple 100 feet smaller to a couple 100 feet bigger. Okay. But kind of how I look at it is like if this property is 2,100 square feet, the buyers looking for a property that are 2,100 square feet are probably looking at like 1,800 square foot properties to like 23, maybe 2,400 square foot properties, right? Once we cross 25, 26, that's probably a different buyer, different house structure. So I kind of, you have to use a little bit of common sense, but that's how I kind of gauge it as far as that, if I'm going to break it down by living area or also by lot size, right? If the lot is really small, then I may want to keep it within like 1,000 square feet larger of that lot, but not go much bigger. Or if it's a really big lot, I probably want to like eliminate some of those the lot sizes and only look for bigger square footage lots. So initially, I'm not going to put any of that in. I'm just looking, hey, based on statuses, where are we at, right? So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from here. So I've got my properties selected here. To make it easier, you could click on each of these dots, but it makes it hard. I'm going to hit displays over here on the upper right-hand side, and I'm going to go to the one line grid display, which is my default display. And I'm going to click on that. And on the one line grid display, it allows me to sort the properties. So that's the nice thing about, there's a berries one line versus a one line grid. The one line grid works like an Excel spreadsheet, which means that I can sort it. Like I can click the top of any line and it'll sort it in ascending or descending order. Okay. The property that I picked was 412. I didn't, why didn't that one come up? That's interesting. Woodhaven, 412 Woodhaven. All right, let's go back to revised criteria. Somehow it didn't pull up the active property. All right, let's try to get that active property pulled up. Oh, maybe it was a coming soon. Nope. Just hates me. Oh, because I said pool no. I should have said pool any. There we go. All right, now we're going to see the subject property. Now I'm going to go back to that one line grid. So to get back to the screen to change that criteria, you can just hit revise criteria, or you can go back to your displays. So the two ways to get back there. Hold on. Once we're in this screen, if I hit revise criteria, it's going to take me back to that map page, or I can come over here to this display and go map view of all listings, and that will take me back to the map as well. All right, so now I have that 412 Woodhaven on here, and know that you can reorganize your columns here. So if you go customize grid, like maybe you want to see if these homes have a pool, I can hit customize grid on that grid selection. And then over here are the available residential fields. Here are the ones that are selected. So I'm just going to scroll down and look for, these are alphabetical. So I'm going to guess that pool is going to be the first word alphabetically, OP, pool. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click add. Now it's going to add it to the bottom. I may decide that I want it to go up. So we can just hit move up and move it up. So I'm going to have, we have lot size, and then we're going to have, actually, I'm going to put it right after fireplace, right? So I'm just going to put it there. Now, if I wanted to, I can move any of the other columns just by clicking on them over here and clicking move down, or I could eliminate a column. So like if I no longer wanted the agent name, I could hit remove. Boom, gone. Okay. Once it's there, we just hit save. And that's going to save as my default one line grid. If we want to save it as new, you just click new, and then you can save it like as top grid or something to that effect. Then we hit back to list. This takes us back to our list. And as we can see now, it'll tell us whether it's got a pool there in that column. So it's a really easy way to manipulate this one. I like it because you can do that. So there we go. So if we wanted to sort by square footage, we could click square footage, which is going to sort those properties by square footage. Here's our property, it's 2043. So we know that, hey, this one right here, this Millbrook Way is a good comp. It has a pool, same square footage. Clayton doesn't have a pool, same square footage. We're going to select that one. We're going to select ours. And we're going to look here. This one has a much bigger lot, which is kind of neat. Let's see, this one is a much higher sales price. It doesn't have a pool. It's also on a quarter acre. So we're not going to mess with that one. My guess is these are probably newer homes as well. Let's see. Plantation. We're going to select plantation as well, even though it doesn't have a pool. Because the other ones, the sales prices go down quite a bit. So we don't want to mess with those. So I'm going to select these three. If I want to go back and see the proximity to the subject property, I can go back and hit revise criteria after I've checked them. And they're going to show up on this map with those checked marks. Okay, so it makes it super easy there. Millbrook was a much smaller square footage. So we're going to skip that one. And Bel Air, again, much smaller square footage, although this one could be a good comp because it sold for $555 at 1,300 square feet. So I may go ahead and check that one. All right, there we go. All right, so we've got those. Oh, these new ones. Okay, if I wanted to eliminate the new properties, because we don't ever want to include new properties with resale properties unless they're only like the property's only a couple of years old, then we can come up here. So sometimes I do this, I go year built, and I go, hey, we only want it built through 2020. And that eliminates any of your new build properties. So you can, I do adjust on your build sometimes depending on the structure of the neighborhood. Like that property on Walnut was a turn of the century home. It was an old Victorian home, and the properties around it weren't the same. They were built in like the 50s and 60s. So I may go in there and do year built so I can search the whole city, right? So there might be some adjustments. Once I've selected my comps, this one was pretty easy because it had comps right in that neighborhood that were direct comps that helped justify any sales price based on that list price. Then what I do is I just come up here and I hit add to cart. And then I'm going to hit add to new cart. And I'm going to call this new cart name 412 Wood Haven comps. I click add. I could also, so if this was just getting ready to go on the market and I wasn't pulling up the appraisal packet right away, I could come over here and hit save on the blue toolbar. Search name, I would call this 412 Wood Haven comps. I could add it to a market watch if I wanted to, or I could do whatever, but I'm just going to set it up there and hit save. What that's going to allow me to do is later on, maybe we just are getting ready to put this home on the market, is later on, it allows me, maybe it sits for a month and I go, man, I really want to pull comps for that Woodhaven again. I can come right over here into my searches. I can go saved searches. I've got 412 Woodhaven comps. I just click on it and it pulls it back up with that same search criteria. I didn't have to spend any time pulling it in. The same properties are checked. It's going to pull any new properties that have popped up or sold are going to be reflected in this search. So it's going to update it based on the date. And then remember, I saved those one properties to the carts. So if I come over here to carts, it's going to pull up that list of carts for me. I'm just going to scroll down to our 412 Woodhaven comps. And that's going to pull just those properties that I selected with the check marks from that search and add them in here. So this is where, once I selected those properties, I would hit the little box here. I would go reports, and then I would go appraisers 1-page report. So that in a nutshell is how I pull comps. Now, this property was really easy because when I went to pull comps, they had comps that justified the list price. They're in that neighborhood, which made it super simple. You can expand out your range. So if we went back to searches, just so you know too, there's another way to do that. If I go in the home dashboard, let's say sometimes what happens is we're like doing something and we get distracted and go to do something else, and we close out of our berries or it times out on us and you're like, man, I wasn't done with that search. Well, right here, there should be a box somewhere on your berries home screen. It might be down lower because you can rearrange these home screens. But over here, we've got this most recent search, map search. If I click on that and pull it up, it's going to pull back up that last search that I did as I left it. So if you ever get closed out, you forget about something, you go to do something else and you're like, man, I lost that search. It's all in that recent search bar. You can pull it back up really simply. And if I wanted to look at what Woodhaven looked like compared to the other properties, I could hit this little button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. It looks like a little box with an arrow coming out of it. That's going to open up a second berries page. So if you didn't know that, you can open up a second berries page. That's going to allow me 412 Woodhaven. So if I wanted to pull up the property, this comes in handy a lot if I'm doing comps for a listing presentation. I'll pull up the previous sale of the property to look at what that property looked like and then pull up comps. That way I can compare side by side and go back and look at it, right? So I can look at these photos and I can still go back to that original screen, which had those listings on it. Okay, so that allows it. Now, if I couldn't find enough comps inside this neighborhood, then I have options. I could either draw more squares to encompass the next closest neighborhood, right? So I could add another, so I could go here to draw. You can draw more than one box. Select that little triangle. I like that one because it allows me to place it wherever. So I might include this neighborhood next door if I needed more comps, right? Or maybe it's a super crazy property that's like over a quarter acre with a swimming pool. I could come in here to search criteria. I could go, hey, lot size. I want anything with more than 0.2 acres. And it needs to have a pool. Yes. So maybe it's a unique property. Keep in mind that anytime I do this, the properties that I originally had checked on this search are always going to remain. But notice it didn't pull anything up because it's only pulling properties inside of these two squares here. So if I wanted to get rid of those, I could hit edit. And I could just close and X out of those. Now it's going to pull properties in all of Vacaville that have at least 0.2 lot with a swimming pool. And I might want to cap that. So if the lot was like a quarter acre, I may say, hey, I want 0.2 through 0.5. Just so it doesn't pull like country properties or whatnot. Hit close. So that's going to pull some comps. So if you've got like a unique property, sometimes I look in the whole city, or that's how you would do like country properties too. Like you're going to cast the net a little further. But this allows me to look at what the other properties are that have similar lot sizes and pools in all of the city. Now, there's one other way that you can search when pulling comps. If I zoom back in here on my little checkbox, so hold on here. All right, so this one here was my subject property. So let's go ahead. I'm going to make that little mark come back up again. 412 Woodhaven. All right. Here, if I hit remove marker, oh, I didn't want to remove marker. Let's try that again. Okay, we just wanted to X out. So it still has that little property dot there. If we click on that, usually, I can add a radius search. So I could say, hey, I want a 1/2 mile radius. So maybe inside this neighborhood, there weren't enough comps. Then I might go out to a 1/2 mile radius, or I might go to the next neighborhood over, but this allows me to kind of see what does that look like, right? So there's lots of different ways to pull those comps, but I usually start with the neighborhood and going back 3 months. And then I might go back up to 6 months before I go outside that neighborhood. And then I would start looking outside the neighborhood, and just based on knowledge of the area makes a determination of whether it makes most sense to kind of do a radius search, or whether it makes most sense to come over here by this other neighborhood first, or whether it makes sense to kind of look at the whole city based on the uniqueness of the property. Like I had a listing over that back the hills off the Alamo area over here, and it was like 0.3 acres with a swimming pool that backed to the hillside. And so I wanted to look at comps that other properties that had similar, like no rear neighbors, large lots with pools is what I looked for that one, because it was really hard to comp it based on just the surrounding area. So then I looked at the whole city based on those. Okay, keep in mind too that when you're on this map search, if you have a drawing in there, again, it's only going to pull inside that drawing. If I hit edit, so it pulls everywhere. And it's only going to show you what's on this map. So like here, I've got this blue property here that is White Sands Drive. If I move the map so that that property is off my screen, then when I go to displays and hit that one line grid, it's only going to show me these properties that I can see on my screen right now. It's not going to pull up that White Sands unless I check the box. Anytime you check a box, it will continue to pull those properties over. Okay, so that's how that works there. It will show you what's on your screen. Okay, any other questions? Did you guys find this useful and helpful of how to pull comps as well as that ACE the appraisal packet? Make sure before you leave us today that you log your attendance, that a link for logging your attendance is in the chat box over there. And if you have any trainings that you want to see coming up on the schedule, please make sure to throw them in there under suggested trainings, or I think that's what it's listed as, but you can make a suggestion in there and make sure to throw that in there so that we can make sure to add those to the new calendar. We are doing a special series at the end of December, so mark your calendars for that. I know you're going to want to be like off enjoying yourself and your holidays, but mark your calendars. I think we're doing them at 9 a.m. I could be wrong on the time, but let me see if they've been added yet. Oops, probably not on a Saturday. No, I don't have the complete list for you yet. So stay tuned for tomorrow and I'll tell you what trainings we have coming up. We're calling it the 12 days of putting like ideas into practice or something like that. We're going to talk about unique lead gen activities. Oh, Abby just stole my screen, which means she's going to share the schedule with you. Look at that. 12 days of systems to move you from ideas into actions. We're talking about the database holds your key to the future. Step up your database to yield its potential. Lead generation, the only way to grow your database. Leverage listings for leads. Farming to grow bigger crops. Social media to expand your reach. That's a good one for you, Mark. Have fun and grow your database. Everyone wins. Take your open house from open to out of this world. Get agent referrals. Then we're going to cover niche, VIP, forget the farm, and quick text on day 10, day 11. Hold on, I can't see that one. Grow your business with leverage. And then day 12 is create an exit plan by building wealth. So that's going to be our 12 days of systems to move you from ideas to actions. We're going to talk about some unique, fun things that you can do that will make your lead gen and your activities that you're going to do to grow your business way more fun and exciting. So make sure you mark your calendars for that. Abby, can you tell me what day that starts on and what time we selected for that? Do you remember? Let's see, it starts on the 18th. And it starts at 9 a.m. So this will be 9 a.m. starting on the 18th. It's basically every day except like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So we're going to go 12 days from the 18th on the weekdays, not holidays, covering this information. So make sure you mark your calendars for that because it'll be fun. These will be recorded. So that'll be there. And then all the details will be posted later. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, thanks for joining me today, guys. If you have any questions or need anything, never hesitate to holler at me. And I'll see you all real soon.
Thank you.
Amy.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.